Donald Trump's allies would like Nikki Haley to stop attacking him, but she is persisting in staying in the race. Over the weekend, the former UN ambassador criticized the RNC for a reported plan to declare Trump the party's presumptive nominee. The idea was dropped, but Haley cites it in a list of what she calls the frontrunner's unhinged reaction to her decision to stay in the race. She also criticized Trump for encouraging House Republicans to block a potential bipartisan border security bill. CBS News chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett joins me now to decode all of this. Major, it's been roughly a week since Ambassador Haley said that she was going to keep going. How would you characterize the state of her campaign and what it means for her to have kept going?
So Nikki Haley is noting unforced errors committed by the former president. She's raising money. She's about to go on a fundraising tour of the country, going to the 4 states where, if you're a national political candidate, you can find money to raise. Where is that? Florida, Texas, California, and New York. Her super PAC has about $50 million, all of which gives Haley what she most needs, money to keep going even after South Carolina. And of course, John, she is trying to manage expectations in South Carolina's upcoming primary, about 3 weeks away, by saying all she needs to do is continue to show momentum, continue to close the gap. Well, there's a sizable gap right now. She's trailing Trump by 30 points there. So managing expectations, raising money, and noting unforced errors of your opponent, that's the lot of an insurgent candidate.
I know somebody who's on one of those text chains where they text you every time they need money. And Haley is in contact with this person quite a lot, making the argument that Donald Trump has said anybody who donates to her campaign will be shut out of MAGA. You know so well the debate going on within the Republican Party. Are there that many people who are going to be prompted by an appeal along those lines?
It'll be a not insignificant number, John, and this is what I meant when I said unforced errors by former President Trump. He doesn't need to make a declaration like that, a declaration that the Haley campaign somewhat adroitly immediately turned into a T-shirt and a fundraising mechanism, hauling in $1 million in 24 hours. That's an unforced error. That's giving your opponent something to attack you with and raise money at the same time. So that's what Haley has tried to do, take advantage of whatever small advantages she can find, either that she generates when she can, or capitalize those that former President Trump hands to her. But let's be honest with ourselves, John. Nominating contests are about base voters of either party, Democrat or Republican. And who is in the base? The most ardent true believers. And in the modern Republican Party, ardent true believers are Trumpists, and they vastly outnumber never Trumpers, sort of Trumpers, or maybe on the every other day Trumpers. And that's Haley's constituency. She has to build that out. It's not going to be easy, but with money and unforced errors, she might have a shot.
Right. It seems to me she's basically arguing Trump's overreaction to her is a sign of his temperament that will be on display again in office. She's also making the case, Major, that basically Donald Trump can't win in a general election. She's been making that for a long time. Is anybody rebutting that? Or is the best answer with the base that you just talked about, yes, he will, and move on?
Yeah, the Trump answer is the base is with me. The base knows I'm a winner. The base knows what it's like to be with me. They have muscle memory there, and they're going to exercise it in primaries in South Carolina and on Super Tuesday. And there is no numerically available path for Nikki Haley. There is only her harassing Trump, taking the Republican Party's eye off Joe Biden, wasting time and resources. That's the essence of the Trump message.
What do you make of former President Trump meddling in the border bill in the Senate and basically saying don't pass it? What do you make of that, A? And B, Democrats fancy that this is going to give them some way to get out of their border box that they're in, which they are in. Do you think there's any merit to that argument?
This would be one of those other unforced errors I described. There's no real reason for former President Trump to get this deeply involved in it unless he thinks the deal is not terrible, but one that will actually noticeably improve border enforcement, shut down or vastly reduce the number of illegal border crossings, and essentially address the problem, thereby depriving him of the two I's he wants to use against President Biden, inflation and immigration. And so this is one that perfectly is suited for Nikki Haley saying, hey, I want to solve problems. I don't want to take an establishment cynical approach to politics, deny problem solving so I can maybe solve at some point in the future. Solve it now. Again, that is an appealing general election message, but guess what? You got to be the nominee in a general election to make it stick.
Right. It is a novel argument, though. Don't pass the bill because it'll be too effective. Usually presidential candidates try to talk about how they're going to. Anyway, we're in a different place. Major Garrett in Washington. Thank you so much, Major.